I'm outside. Surprise, surprise. We're going to go over and take a look at the plants. I'm going to try seed production because I'm breeding seeds. And but before I do, I wanted to bring you out here and show you something. You see this mirror laying here on the ground? It used to be leaning up against this wood pile. And you see this stick here? This stick's almost 4 feet long, right? Lay this stick down. You can see that stick laying down there. Now, how did that mirror get there? That mirror sat up against that plywood right there for a good year, if not longer. Through all kind of wind, through all kind of storms, all kind of weather. And one day last year, I went into the village of Kalkaska. You know that village where the chief of police for the village says there is no corruption in the village. That village, the village of Kalkaska, right? I'm gone for a very short period of time. I just got to go run an errand. I come back and I find this mirror laying here. Now, I have intentionally left that mirror laying there because I wanted somebody to see it. I want to talk to somebody about this. Because there were a couple other things that happened. My trash can was about a football field down the drive in the opposite direction. And I had some cannabis plants growing. I did. I had them growing right in here. And they were looking pretty good. They were. They were looking pretty good. And after the month of July, they just got sicker and sicker and sicker. I never seen anything like it before in my life. And I didn't get much of a harvest at all. And I've saved a good majority of it because I want to have it analyzed in a lab. I think somebody did something to it. I think somebody did something to that mirror. And I'm pretty sure somebody did something to this trash can. See this trash can over here? That was about a football field down the driveway that way. And that mirror that sat there so nicely all that time, it was gone. But at any rate, we're out here in the garden, which I got a late start on this year. I did. I got a late start. And so I'm very happy to have some plants and have them maturing. I wish I had larger plants. But if we take a look at these plants here, you can see this one. This one's only about a little over knee high. This one's just getting up to be just about chest high. This one's about hip high. This one's about crotch high. This one here is getting chest high. Now you can see it's making some nice bud production. It's flowering. That's what we call flowering. And to the best of my knowledge, this is not an autoflower plant. I have some autoflowers out here. They're known as ruderalis. Your three main species is cannabis, sativa, indica, and ruderalis. Ruderalis is your autoflower. Now, ruderalis will start flowering regardless of the daylight change. Daylight change is what triggers a marijuana plant to switch from veg to flower. A autoflower will go into flower even under 24-hour light. It flowers based on the time that you pop the seed. And indoors, they don't tend to grow very large. I saw one outdoors that was 8 feet or taller. And I don't know what they did, but I'm thinking they had 24-hour light on it. So I'm a little impressed with these. This is an autoflower here. And you can see it's It's almost as tall as I am. It's almost as tall as I am. So we've got some nice bud production happening here. They're just getting started. And, well, they've been going for a few weeks. And let me see if I can get the camera right in here. Right here we see some seed production right at the end of my finger there. We also see it in the buds. These buds are loading up with seeds. And the beautiful thing about these seeds in an autoflower is they will grow close to the size of a normal marijuana plant, but they will start flowering in August and harvest in September. Now, in the previous video, I said harvest in August. I was wrong. They go into flower in August, and they'll finish in September. And, well, everybody else is still out fighting. So, this is a regular marijuana plant here. I have no idea what strain it is. I'm going to back up so you can see the difference in size in the girth. Okay, this one here, kind of like tall and thin. This one's not as tall, but it's much wider. Now again, I got a late start out here. Had I gotten, had this plant been, say, 2 months further along when it went in the ground, it would probably be touching the top of the mesh up here. And it might take 6 to 8 men, arms stretched out around it for everybody to touch fingers. And I am impressed with this plant. This plant was acclimated. These seeds were created in plants that had acclimated to northern Michigan environment. And I'm impressed with this plant here. It's making nice buds and very frosty. You're probably not going to be able to see it in this light. Very, very frosty on the leaves around the buds. And you can see that the buds are forming. These are a couple weeks behind the autoflower over here. These buds are more developed. They started a little bit earlier. And the beautiful thing about the seeds that I'm breeding in 4 autoflowers. This one's autoflower, this one's autoflower, this one's autoflower, and that one's autoflower. Those seeds, like I said, they'll grow close to the size of a regular marijuana plant. And they'll go into flower in August, and they'll finish in September, before you're dealing with all that nasty weather that we get here in northern Michigan, the cold and the rain. You get the rain on those buds and they want to mold. Now this plant over here, just a regular marijuana plant. Again, I don't know what strain. You can see that it's budding. So again, this comes from seed that was acclimated in Michigan. So it's gonna produce without a lot of trouble, without having to go. Sometimes we go into November trying to get the plants to finish. Sometimes the sativa will go into January, and you got to have it covered. You got to have heat, and well, what a miserable way to grow! Absolutely miserable way to grow. I want to see if I can close up on a bud and show you seeds inside the bud, but I don't know how well you can see. But right here in the top of this bud, we've got seeds forming. We've got seeds in all these buds. This is a male plant over here on the ground, and what I did was I took clips off, I cut it, and then I'd go and I'd shake them over these plants. And then I'd come out here sometimes and I'd wiggle this. Finally, I pulled it a few days ago. Now I'm gonna lift this up and you just watch the pollen come out of here. Just look at this. You see that? That's all pollen coming out. So I'm done with this now. There's no more need to have this thing hanging around. They say that the THC in a male plant is very high. So I've never had a male plant to do any smoking on, so before I shake all the pollen out of this bad boy, I think we want to put some in a pipe and see what it's all about. So I'm just going to come on over here and set this down gently. Try and leave as much of that pollen in there as I can. So anyways, that's your update on making seeds and why we want them and the kind of seeds that we want. I have been wanting to seed autoflowers with a regular marijuana plant since 2015. But all this government oppression and suppression and attacks has just had me down. But the good Lord smiled on me this year. He did. Yes, indeed. And I was delivered a few plants. So I got a couple holes out here because we had a few male plants, and I took the other ones out early. They were much smaller. I wanted the bigger one because that trait will carry through. If I was to pollinate with, see, they all started at the same time, same size. Some of them were only knee high. Some of them were getting chest high. That one was over my head. So when I took it out of the ground, but I could see early on that it was going to be the largest of them all. So that's the one that I picked to use for pollinating. So I got the other ones out before the pollen sacs could bust open and expose these. So we'll take another look again. It's a straight marijuana plant. That's a good looking plant. If that one had started 2 to 3 months earlier, that would be all the way up, going through the ceiling, and you'd need 6 to 8 men, arms stretched out around it, touching fingers to be able for everybody to touch fingers. This one over here, I'm more impressed with it. I like the way it's producing the buds. It's going to produce a lot of buds, and she's got girth. So this one right here, I'm thinking I'm going to get a cutting off of it and root it and make a mother plant out of it, and get some good clones, get them rooted in December or January, and have some nice healthy plants to put in the ground first opportunity, so that we can actually fill this grow area up with 12 plants or less. Again, this autoflower, this is the tallest one, and it's producing some nice nugs. So we're happy about that. So at any rate, folks, I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. Much love. Stay healthy. I'll be back soon.